Hello, listeners. Lisa Starr and Starrcast here with you. We are doing a special episode. The upcoming Global Wellness Summit in Dubai will feature speakers and leaders from the world of wellness all on the stage, but we are talking with a few of them ahead of time just to give you a sneak peek at what you might hear if you join us in Dubai. My first guest is Diego Carrete. He is the Chief Wellness Officer of First Abu Dhabi Bank. And when I saw that, I thought, well, this is a person we need to speak to because there are not a lot of wellness officers in banks. And I want to hear from you, Diego, about how this happened, how you ended up in this role in your career. And thank you again for joining us.
The pleasure is all mine, and that's a very good question, Lisa. In fact, I think the answer is not straightforward. I think it's a very peculiar role. It's a very new role. When we're looking at the banking sector, at the financial sector, especially in this side of the world, it's definitely a trailblazing role. So it happened, I guess, by being at the right time, at the right place, and stars aligned in a way to make this happen. I've been in the role for some years. Everything started as a consulting sort of job for a few months just to implement a few things. And then it suddenly escalated into what became a full-time role. I had some experience in corporate wellness. I had experience with my own wellness businesses in the region and working with private families and VVIP individuals in the region as well. So after a few months in the role, the staff, the employees, basically the feedback was great. I was enjoying what I was doing. The impact was there, and then we created the function, and it's been a fantastic journey.
How many
It's
people
been a
work
great.
in the bank, Diego?
In the UAE, 15,000 plus.
Wow, that's a lot of people. So how does one person oversee the wellness of 15,000 other people?
I think, like in any other successful career or job, there is two things that matter, right? Or that matter most. One is talent. So manpower, the quality of employees, this in this example, my team. And the second one is systems, right? So by having the right teams and the right system, we use something that we all know is called leverage, right? So how
Mm-hmm.
to amplify one person's efforts to impact a broader community, a broader group of people, and focusing on what matters. So on the right 20% of things that are going to move the needle. So it's the Pareto principle in a way, the Pareto law, right? 20%
Sure.
of things that will. So I think that's what summarizes your question or the answer.
How many branches are there?
Branches, there are plenty. There are
A
plenty.
lot.
I wouldn't be able to tell you a number, but we are all across the Emirate, all across the GCC region, worldwide. We look at Singapore, we look at the US. So far, the role is implemented at the UAE level, but there is plenty of branches. I wouldn't tell you, I don't want to give you the wrong number, but
No,
yeah.
it's okay. A lot is the answer.
Yeah.
Do you get out into the field in your role? Do you visit branches and offices?
In my role is purely or mostly focused on strategy. And
Hmm.
I have directly reports or people that allow me to basically not only get feedback, but understand the different branches. I work from a branch. So where my office,
Hmm.
my head office, a branch is there. When I work from Abu Dhabi, a branch is there. And if there is any concerns or any sort of notes from any of the branches across the UAE, we tackle that through the people that work in those branches. And if I have to visit them, of course, I'm the first in line.
So, how did you begin, Diego, with this mandate of, and your lecture at the summit is about infusing wellness into the workforce? You arrive, there's no predecessor in your role. Where do you start?
Yeah. I started by listening and by doing an extensive work of research, right? I think something that I have observed through my experience in the region and in my own industry is the misconception of wellness, right? I like to make a clear distinction and separation between the concept of perk and strategic advantage, right? So I wanted to make sure that from the get-go, we were a function seen as a strategic advantage for the organization. And for that, we needed data, right? It's
Sure.
very common to see malpractices or like just not accurate ROE driven practices where you implement something just to tick a box. I wanted to make sure that from the beginning, everything that we do has the right, not only science background, but also data. We do things for a reason. There is a clear why. So we started with research, analyzing insurance, analyzing the trends in insurance over the last years, taking our subjective metrics in form of surveys and pulses. And based on that, we build the, let's call it MVP or version 1.0. And I always say this, the role and the initiatives, the function, given the dynamic nature of the workplace, especially nowadays, is always a work in progress. So we started with the right data, implementing in a very progressive manner, and then making changes along the way.
Mhm.
Something that I have to say is one of the, I would say, key aspects for me was to reach 16% of the organization.
60,
Engage 60, yeah, 1/6, 1/6.
16.
Because when we look at, I took this from, I think it's Roger and Moore, the author of the technological adoption model. You, you know, those people who sleep outside the iPhone store to get the latest option,
Right.
the latest iPhone, right? So, well, those are sort of the group of people that I wanted to impact. So the lowest hanging fruit. And I wanted to impact those people so then we could create momentum. So
Hmm.
I made sure that I identified and I recruited those who are the champions, the natural champions to help me build momentum. Because as you rightly said, one person or a small team impacting 15,000 was complicated. So I needed to get leverage from the beginning and impact those 16% of engaged individuals who were
Hmm.
loyal raving fans that would then help us compound the movement and the feedback mechanisms.
Makes a lot of sense that you would approach from data. You're a bank, right? I mean, you have data, so that seems like a very sound and brainy way to start. You ask questions, you get answers, you develop a strategy. And how will you know when your strategy is working? How will you measure the results of what you're doing at the bank?
Looking back at the data. So I look at, let's just for the sake of the example and not to disclose too much so people actually come
Right.
and,
Yes,
join
we
us in
want
the
them to
summit.
come and hear the real stuff.
Exactly. So let's say that we look at insurance data, right? This would be objective metrics. So there's raw data. And then we look at subjective data coming from anonymized surveys. We go through the execution implementation phase, and then we go through the next cycle of data. And we want to understand improvements or at least trends. And the reason why it took me at least 3 years to put some data together as a form of conclusion, even though sometimes causality and the the data, it cannot be solely pointed at because of wellness, but it took me 3 years because I like to focus on trend lines and not on headlines.
Hmm.
Is data analyze, implement, execute, and collect data and understand the impact. So in this case, we saw great results in musculoskeletal disorders, the lowest in, if not in history, in many years. And comparing ourselves with other anonymized competitors, we see how the industry trends were increasing and ours was decreasing. So
Mm.
that's when I focused, when I realized, okay, something is adding up. Of course, it's the culture. Of course, wellness is not the only route, but it's a big indicator that we're doing great. When we look at engagement rates, when we look at the participation rates in every
Mm.
single event. So we are just taking signs. And when we
Mm.
put them all together, not in isolation, but we can put them all together, we see there is a clear trend that things are getting better. And that constant iteration is what makes the journey beautiful and engaging at the same time for me too.
Well, it is certainly wonderful to see the actual results of your work in numbers, verified in numbers. Tell me what the overall strategy behind having your role was. What does the bank want to see happen as a result of having a more well staff?
Well, I'm sure you are familiarized with the latest results and Gallup state of the workplace, and we look at the state of engagement, burnout. Then, even if you look at broader data outside the workplace, we look at mental health, we look at loneliness. Just some very crazy numbers, like even higher than post-COVID, right? So the idea was to create an environment where our staff can thrive, helping them inside and outside office walls, producing more quality work in less time, and basically, and also increasing the engagement to avoid not only absenteeism but presenteeism, which I think is something that actually hurts companies much more because you don't know what you don't know. So those, in a
So
nutshell,
true.
were
It's so
yeah.
true. Presenteeism is that concept of people, they're there, but they're not really all there.
You cannot replace them, and then you sometimes cannot even motivate them so they do their job, because at least if someone is not coming to work or is not an efficient resource or is not in there for the right reasons, of course there is a cost of replacement and all that stuff, but at least you can take action. But when someone, especially in big organizations, because see, the smaller an organization, the less space or there is to hide, right? I take the example of
True.
my own business. In my own business, I create an environment where no one can hide because we're just a few. But when you look at larger workforces, everything dilutes much more. So when you have people who are there but shouldn't be there or don't want to be there and are not engaged, it's hurting the company much, much.
I would totally agree with that. So let's talk about the training that led you up into this role. I know that you have your own podcast called The Nudge, and you have a website, The Lean Executive, with tools for executives to use. How did that all evolve, Diego?
That's a very good question. See, when I got to the UAE, I started by founding my own personal training business. I have a lot of knowledge from the trenches. So I am someone who, despite my academic background in business administration and marketing, and having been in the industry for over 20 years and having, I'm a nutritionist, a sports nutritionist, a level three qualified fitness professional. I have a very peculiar background. I've been writing for Men's Health and Men's Fitness for years, collaborating with them. I've been a cover athlete. So I have a lot of nuanced insight on the industry. And I know the customer and the pain points and the desires in a very, with a very deep insight. So after creating my own personal training company, I exited the company. I started working in corporate wellness. So let's call it a corporate wellness specialist because it was not called wellness officer back then. After that, after COVID, one thing led to another. I launched my own online platform, my own online business. So what I did there is help executives because that's the demographic or the niche that I understood best, and I like to be able to be relatable. So I created my own company, my own online coaching company, the Lean Executive is rebranded recently as the Lean Executive, and that's sort of the B2C angle of things. I was coaching uh, private individuals and families on that front. And then I started my consulting endeavor with Fab, which led to the role. So currently, I still have my private consultancy for executives, which is sort of the B2C side of things. And I, at the same time, have my main job, which is Fab. And that's how it kept evolving. Sort of these sources kind of feed off each other, and the learnings from one can be applied to another. And fundamentally, the learnings from my own business, because that's the sort of B2C side of things, helps me refine the other strategies. So I think they're very complementary. Kept my own business because I have a lot of fun doing it, and I have that sense of giving back to executives that are in my own shoes. And at the same time, I find that it complements and helps my B2B role because it gives me nuanced insight from these leaders that are in other corporations, in other big corporations. They're very senior positions. We're looking at M2s, we're looking at CXOs, we're looking at CEOs, board members. So I get to understand them in their individual capacity, and that helps my role as well. So currently, I handle both.
That's a great explanation, and it makes a lot of sense that, when you get into a corporate role with a big company like yours, you can become very removed from the people on the front lines. and what their issues are, but you are in both worlds. So that's a great way to keep it current. It's so interesting how wellness careers evolve. You know, like I said at the outset, this is not a role you set out in life to have. And here you've created it for yourself, and it's working for you and it's working for them. And I'm sure it's working for the 15,000 people who work for First Abu Dhabi Bank who appreciate your efforts. Can't wait to hear more about it at the summit, Diego. In closing, I'd love for you to share something with us that we won't hear from the stage in Dubai about you, Diego Carrete.
Something that I will not mention there that I will mention here. So everything that I do in life and in my work, and the reason why I dedicate myself to wellness is because I want my pain not to be in vain, right? In 2015, I've been through an eating disorder, and that actually affected me in many negative ways, but it removed or almost removed one of the main joys one of the main gifts from life, which is the ability to have kids. So yeah, so that's what I've been through. Then I became a dad. Then through my holistic approaches, through a lot of support and help and knowledge and trial and error, I now lead a life that I'm proud of, and I'm able to provide for my family. And that's what basically ignites everything that I do. I think profits and revenue, we hear a lot of it in the workplace. For me, is a byproduct, is a consequence of creating impact. The moment I see that I have no impact to make, I will quit my job, no matter what it is. And I get goosebumps because it keeps me alive, and I'm blessed to be able to be in the Global Wellness Summit sharing my story and sharing how everyone who is attending can actually hopefully implement wellness at the workplace the right way, in a way that is sustainable and impacts everyone around them.
Well, that's a lovely story. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for your efforts on the wellness front. We look forward to hearing more at the summit.
Likewise, Lisa, thank you for having me. It's been an awesome chat, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all soon.
So we're back with our next guest, who will be shortly in 1 month on the stage at the Global Wellness Summit in Dubai. Her name is Meng-Mei Chen, and she is an associate professor at EHL, which, as we all know in the hospitality world, is the top hospitality school in the world. She's a professor there and has been for years. She is also president of the Swiss chapter for the International Federation for Information Technology, Travel and Tourism. So thank you for joining us, Meng-Mei. Great to have you.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for this opportunity. And I want to say hello to all the audience. My name is Meng-Mei Chen. I'm a Taiwanese American, more Taiwanese than American because I have spent more time in Taiwan than United States. I currently live in Lausanne, Switzerland. Lausanne is the Olympic capital of the world because we have the International Olympic Committee in Lausanne.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That's where they are? Okay.
Yes, and it's a lovely city, especially in summer. You are going to come to see us. And in summer, I actually live in Traverse City, Michigan. I have a small house on the small lake, and I just enjoy summer in Michigan.
That's a funny picture in my head of Lausanne and Traverse City, Michigan, both on a lake, which is nice. But
Yes.
how did you end up in Traverse City? What was the connection there?
Well, my late husband went to get his master's degree and PhD degree from Michigan State University.
Of course.
So then he figured out that, okay, when he was going to retire, he decided to go back to Michigan. And Traverse City at that time was not so popular.
Right.
So we went in and we bought a little house. And now Traverse City is the food capital in Michigan. I can say that. It's also a very lovely city in summer. You have to come to see us.
Oh, that's very nice. Well, great that you have lovely homes in two parts of the world. So, Meng-Mei, tell us a little bit about EHL and your work there. You have been there for almost 25 years, I believe.
Yes.
What do you teach specifically?
Well, I started at EHL, the first hotel school in the world. I started teaching there in accounting and finance.
Mhm.
Why? Because I had work experience as a financial analyst in casino in the United States. So then they thought, okay, you know what? If you know how to deal with numbers in casinos, you probably know how to teach accounting and finance. So that's where I got started. But after a few years, I realized that, you know what? If you really want to be successful, it's not about accounting and finance. It's about marketing. So
Mm.
I switched to marketing. And I really love teaching marketing because, marketing has changed so much in the past 15, right? So before we don't talk about customer journey.
So
We don't talk
much.
about exactly
We
website.
didn't have digital 15
No,
years
we
ago.
didn't. All right. And then, social media, all these new opportunities for marketers to reach, interact, and engage with customers. These are like the dreams for a professor because every day there is something new. So I really enjoy that. And that's what I have been doing. But for our school basically is the first one in the world to start a hotel management as a professional school. Okay.
Right.
And, it was started more than 130 years ago. And we have been ranked consistently as number one in the hospitality management around the world.
Mhm.
So it's also a very nice school for you to visit because we also have a one-star Michelin restaurant on site.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it's
Do
very
you get a
unique.
faculty discount when you eat there?
While you come, I'm going to invite you, and I'm going to
Okay.
take care of everything. You have to come. Yes.
I won't turn that down.
Yeah.
So, Meng-Mei, we're here because this year, I think it was this year, Susie Ellis, CEO of the Global Wellness Institute and Summit, came to Lausanne. She's on the board of EHL, and she met you, and she came back, and she was so excited about your book. I'm going to hold it up for those who are watching this. You can't see with my weird screen. Hospitality Vibes. Great read. It's a great book. It's a really well-timed book. So could you explain a little bit about why you suddenly decided to write a book after being at the school for 25 years?
Okay. For me, I have seen these three forces impacting the hospitality industry. The first one is Airbnb, vacation rental, and short-term rental. More and more people are using short-term rental Airbnb. And on booking.com, 1/3 of the business went to short-term rental. So
Really?
yes, it is published on their annual report 2024. So for me, I thought, wow, if people move to short-term rental, then what about all the hotels? What are we going to do? Right? So that's one problem. The second force is about food delivery. So you know that before the pandemic, people already order food delivery. And during the pandemic, because we missed restaurant experience so much, so we order food again. And after the pandemic, people continue to order food. Now, the problem is this, all these online delivery platform, they charge a very high percentage of commission, right? So restaurant business, most of them, frankly speaking, the profit margin is very
Very
thin.
small.
Exactly. So then I start to think, well, if this is the case, then, what will happen to the restaurant industry? And plus, there's the ghost kitchen business. Those people who basically only have kitchen, they don't have any seating
Right.
area, and they take order from the online delivery platform. So these people, they have a different cost structure comparing to the restaurant business. So for me, it's this again, what are we going to do? And the third one is about talent shortage. The hospitality industry is short of labor, right? So I
Every
thought,
industry is short of labor, but
yes,
hospitality is really
yes,
feeling it.
yes, it's really feeling it because during the pandemic, many people got laid off and they were frustrated. They used the time to upskill themselves. And after the pandemic, they didn't come back. So that's become a huge problem for us. So then I thought about these three forces. What are we going to do? How do we bring people back to the hotels, back to the restaurants, and how do we bring people to work for the industry? So then I started thinking about how we are going to do it. Then I thought about, you know what? What can people get only in hotels and restaurants, but not in Airbnb kind of a vacation rental or delivery food?
Right. What's special about that experience?
Exactly. So then we know it's the experience of interacting with employees. Because if it's interacting with your friend, you can do it at home, right? But it's about interacting with employees. Okay. Then I thought, okay, that should be our value proposition. If you want to interact with employees, you have to come with us. And we really believe that's what we are offering now is human interaction. And if you really think about it, more and more people left their home countries, like me, living in a different country. We left our root in our home country. And it's very difficult to build a network as strong as we had. Plus, people living in the city, long working hours, you really don't have the opportunity to socialize with other people. So then, this is a part I think the hospitality industry can do more. They can really be the home away from home with all the employees, thinking about how they can build a relationship with the customers, not for monetary purpose, because what people need is relationship. It's about like somebody I can sit down and say, you know what? I just got a promotion. Somebody can celebrate with me, or somebody can sit with me when I have a bad day. Because many people are living alone by themselves. They don't have a support. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Yeah.
So your thoughts were really connected to almost how solitary we've become.
Yes.
And the thing that is missing, as you say, we can all order home food or book an Airbnb, but it's the interactions with the people that you meet along the way. And
Exactly.
I think that that's what makes travel fun. I mean, it's one thing to see beautiful sights and churches and monuments and museums, but when I go to a city, I like to ride public transit and go to the supermarket and kind of see who lives there and how they live. And a I'm stumbling for words here. That's the thing we're missing in what made you write the book, is that the personal interactions are so important, and we've lost touch with how to teach that and encourage that in our young people.
I totally agree with you. We are humans are social animals. We need human interaction. That's it. And when we don't get enough human interactions, we become lonely. And I can tell you that every country has their statistic about the lonely people. They also have survey about basically what is the percentage. How do you have one or two close friends in your life?
Right.
And I know that the statistics show that for Americans, the percentage has decreased over the years. Technology actually separated us because it's so convenient to hide in front of the phone. And the younger generation, their social skills are not as good as what we have now. We don't know each other, but we can immediately have a conversation.
Exactly. Well, we didn't grow up with phones in our hands. And I do think that COVID was ill-timed in that for a certain cohort of people who just did not learn how to talk face to face with other humans. It's not that difficult, but some people do struggle.
Exactly. And then, if I don't remember a specific number for the Americans, but I can share with you that research has found employees are lonely as well. 1 in 5 employees is lonely. Lonely employees, they have lower productivity, worse performance, and they have a higher intention to quit. And lonely people, basically, everybody knows about this. Loneliness is as bad as smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
I know, that's amazing.
Exactly. So that's why we thought about, what if we can really tell people how bad it is for you to stay isolated, maybe that will motivate people to just pay attention to say, you know what, be a little more proactive to interact with each other. And if you
Well,
don't have,
Meng-Mei, I
yes,
don't want you to give away your speech on the stage of Global
yeah,
Wellness Summit, but
yeah.
could you tell us a little bit about what the message behind Hospitality Vibes is? How does industry respond to these three challenges that you've outlined?
Well, I think now I am in the process of promoting the ideas. And every time when I give a speech to the industry practitioners, they are always responding with very, very positive vibes. They have never thought about that. But it totally makes sense. What do we need to change in order to respond to the current social need and also give employees a higher purpose, right? Why are you working in the hospitality industry? It's not about serving anymore. It is about bring people together. And your
Human
social
engagement, as you said. I mean, that.
exactly. Yeah.
So, could you tell us one or two strategies that somebody might use to start this process?
Yep. We believe that you need to do it in design. Okay. So basically, how do you use the physical environment to actually bring people together? So I
Oh,
give you an
that's true.
example. Yeah, an example basically is about like, for example, Marriott Hotel. They have decided to locate their top executives' offices near the elevator. Why? Because they think that will give them more opportunity to
Mm,
walk into other people randomly, and that will increase the opportunity to interact with their employees. So that would be one idea. How do we
that's a
use
simple and a great one, I think.
exactly, right? The second thing is this employees need to change their roles. So instead of just there to serve, no, the service will be replaced by robots, but they are going to become the host. The host will be there to basically, okay, you know, Lisa, do you know Meng-Mei? No? Okay, I think you share the same interest because I know that both of you are very interested in wellness and maybe, you know, start a conversation. They will
Hmm.
do this. Or they are going to be the yoga instructors to
Hmm.
show you that, okay, how you can improve your yoga or your physical strength. So I really believe that in the future, when you go to a hotel or restaurant, you are going there to meet like-minded people.
Mm.
And because of that, that will create a positive energy and that will motivate people to come back for more. I think that's what we need to offer. And that's why the book
Well,
is called Hospitality Vibes.
yes, and I'm holding it up again. It's
Yes,
available on Amazon, and it's
yes,
really a great and easy read, and there are lots of good strategies in there that many industries could use. That's my next question. Are you
yeah,
getting inquiries about this concept from other
yes,
industries outside of
yes,
hospitality? Yeah.
yes, definitely. Yes. I'm working with companies from other industries and I cannot tell you the names, but yes, I'm working with them. And,
Well,
you
good.
know, I give you another example. This one is very interesting. I taught my students about the concept of hospitality vibes. And I say, you know what? Find any industry and turn that into a hospitality vibes industry. And you know what? People decided to go after senior living,
Mm.
laundromat, car charging station, car washing
Great,
station.
great social chances there.
Exactly. So I was like, wow, I'm very moved because I was like, wow, you totally understand. Whenever people are bored and they stay at their phone for more than 20 minutes, you can turn that into a hospitality vibes place. Let people interact with each other. And I really hope that this message can be spread to other industry because I think that will create a different competitive advantage.
I think so too. I think you're onto something. So, Meng-Mei, before we conclude, I'd like to ask you, what do you do for your personal wellness?
Well, I socialize a lot with my friends. And I want to say that, as you know, I suddenly lost my husband. And
Sorry to hear that.
yeah. So, how do I get out?
And
Friends.
so that's been important for you to be with friends.
Exactly. 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 And I
And
think
you
that's what,
probably have friends both in Switzerland and in Michigan.
yes, exactly. Exactly. And then that's the thing is like, you know, Of course, you have family members, but families are not right next to you, right? And for me, it's really my friends, really, and then my students, okay, my alumni, and they all stood up and then basically supported me. So I think this is why, now whenever I travel, I went to see them, and I think it's something so easy. You can just send a message and say, hello, I will be here between this time and this time. Do you have time for a coffee? Most people don't have any problem. You say, yeah, just have a coffee, have a meal. And I think that's what we need to do, because I think, I really believe that actually researchers have told us people tend to overestimate the difficulty to reach out, but they underestimate the joy of being with other people. And I think that's one thing we really need to remind ourselves. Just send a note, tell people, let's just have a coffee.
That's a great strategy to start. We could all do that more often, myself included. Having friends means you have to reach out and check on them too.
Exactly.
Well, Meng-Mei Chen, it's been great to chat with you, and I can't wait to hear more from the stage at the Global Wellness Summit in Dubai. Again, Meng-Mei Chen, Associate Professor at EHL and author of Hospitality Vibes. Look forward to seeing you next month.
Thank you very, very much, Lisa, and thank you for all the listeners, and I really hope I will see you in Dubai.
So now we are joined by Professor Jiri Dvorak, who is a double doc, PhD, MD. He has many titles, MD, PhD, Professor Emeritus of Neurology at the University of Zurich, Senior Consultant of the Department of Neurology for the Spine Unit of the Cholthes Clinic in Zurich. He is the co-founder and advisor of the BDMS Clinic in Bangkok. He was something like 22 years the chief medical officer of FIFA, and he is a renowned spine man across the world. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Dvorak.
Happy to contribute to the summit in Dubai.
Yes, well, that is why we're speaking, because you will be on stage in Dubai at the Global Wellness Summit in about a month. I was able to tune in to your lecture at a Chicago University the other day online and noted that the moderator took about 15 minutes to introduce you and name all of your accolades. We don't have that long, so I won't take that long, but hopefully people got the sense from what I have already said that you're an eminent expert in the field of spine health. So your presentation at Global Wellness is the importance of performance for longevity. And could you tell us a little bit about what you'll be speaking on and how the spine relates to that?
I think I will enhance a little bit your introduction.
Okay.
Because it's important. I am a physician, really clinician over the past 50 plus years. So I have seen a lot of suffering and a lot of positive things in my life. I have established the Department of Neurology as a joint venture with the surgeons, with the spine surgeon at the Schultes Clinic. Schultes Clinic is the #1 orthopedic hospital in Europe, according to the Newsweek rating. And we really have a large experience. So the credo of the clinic, which for a certain time I was also the medical director, is keeping people mobile. And the older we get, the more important is the mobility. And it's not only the mobility, it's also the mobility goes hand in hand with cognitive function. So we have to think about the musculoskeletal system and the impact on our brain function. So it's the health of the musculoskeletal system and also health of the brain. And this we have to keep in mind because it's the most important is that the older we get, we should stay healthy. So the length of our life depends very much on the quality of our life. So what we want to avoid is the suffering, and there we have number of issues. But basically, this is I'm more than happy to share the experience with the audience and with the summit participants, because that's what we want to do. It's to predict, to predict, prevent, and also to motivate people to participate. So this is important. And we have, for the longevity, we have modifiable factors and non-modifiable. And
All
this
right.
is important to know.
So how do we know which are which? Can you tell us?
Something is given to us by the birth, and that's the genetical information. We really can't change it, but we can abuse the genetic information. If you have a good predisposition giving for your life, and you have not really an healthy lifestyle, then you can really negatively impact your genetic information and vice versa. Also,
Saying things like smoking, drinking, drug use, not taking care of your body are going to affect your genetic system that you've been given.
Yes, exactly. It's basically the way of life. And this is everybody's decision. It's the self-responsibility. Sometimes patients are asking, doctor, do something with me. You know the business, you know how to do it. And I say, no, you have to understand. You have to be part of the process. And we share the decisions. And to share the decision that's relate to the modifiable factors. And that's what you said before. Those are the bad habits. That's what we call the epigenetics. That's something we can also examine, the factors, and then have an informed consent with the individual. This is what you can do. This is what we can recommend. And a lot of the things people can do by themselves. And of course, it's good to actually give them examples in life. What is really the important things? What are the modifiable factors we can do? And I am more than happy to share with the audience during this summit those.
Okay, great. Let me ask you, you said that we have to take care of the physical body and, the mental part and then the body part. And these modifiable factors, do they affect both of those sides?
Of course, it goes hand in hand, and there are certain pillars which are leading to good way of life, and it's quite simple. It's also include the environment, the healthy environment. If you have polluted environment and you are exposed to a lot of plastic in your life, then we see it in the brain. I am neurologist, so we see it, what's happening in the brain. We thought earlier that nothing comes into the brain, only the blood and the oxygen. But today we know that we find particles in the brain which affect the function over the years, over the decades, such as heavy metals and plastic, microplastics, and so on. So it goes hand in hand together. And don't forget, about 35% of our body weight for women and 45% of men are muscles. So that's also the credo of my hospital: keep people mobile, keep them really fit and have a good body composition. So it's not only the body weight, the body mass index, but it's the content of body. And if you are losing muscle fibers over the decades, and if you don't do anything, then we are losing them, then you are losing also something which is so important for life. And people start to complain about tiredness and they have no energy. And they say, well, I am getting old. It's not the question of the age. It's the more question of your body.
That that advice that we hear about just keep moving is really important here, is what you're saying. And if you lose that muscle fiber from a sedentary lifestyle, is it possible to regain it?
Of course, you can train, and it's never too late to start. And for this, whatever I say, there is a huge body of scientific evidence behind. So it's not just the personal experience. I forget to say that I am also, my entire career, I have been doing science, and science actually to keep people mobile and keep people cognitive fit. And this is what actually helps you to extend your health span.
So what could you elaborate just a little on the connection between the physical and the mental? Why does keeping my body moving and building muscle fiber help my brain?
Yes. In the last years, number of scientific papers have been published about the impact of physical activity of the cardiopulmonary endurance on the cognitive function. The better your cardiopulmonary endurance, the better cognitive function. And there are mechanisms, they are hormones, they are substances which are released into the body by physical exercise, and that keeps the brain functioning healthy. That's fact. We have the proof. If you don't do that, then you are not releasing those hormones which are so important for the brain function, and your cognitive function is declining. So there is a direct interrelationship. In this respect, it's also your sleeping habit very important, because during the sleep, we are releasing from brain all the toxic substances which were accumulated over the active day. And during the relaxing time, particularly during the deep sleep, those toxins are eliminated, including amyloid and tau, which are responsible for the development of dementia and even Alzheimer. So this is something so important for the prevention, which is in aging population so important. And the dementia, unfortunately, is on rise, and we are expecting until 2050 that dementia will triple within the population.
Really?
Yeah.
Based on what? What is making you make that projection?
Well, that's not my personal projection. That's science, which says that
Mhm.
based upon the statistical data, it's increasing. And it's for sure multifactorial. But what we can do, we have to do today. We should not wait that somebody will introduce a silver bullet. And this is where industry, is investing a lot of money to develop a silver bullet against that development. But, who knows how long does it take? And the time in between, we might get it. I am not excluding that, and it'd be great if we get it. But now we have to live with this, what we have. And what we have today, it's basically this, what I have mentioned before.
So we need to take steps to ward off dementia for sure. If the occurrence of it is supposed to triple, that's a lot. I mean, and that's not a problem anybody wants to have. So what beyond being physically active can we do to help ward off the potential of that development?
Well, definitely, the physical activity is the number one. Number two is good sleep.
Okay.
Number three is your nutrition. And basically, we have good evidence about Mediterranean diet and reasonable, healthy diet and intake of fluid. That's the next one. Then we have to allow our body and our mind relax. I eliminated the word stress long time ago from my vocabulary.
For
I
you.
say I have plenty of to do. I have my agenda is full. I can do as much as I can, and I did a lot. Being
You did.
chair of the department and at the same time the FIFA chief medical officer. But I always found, and this is important to find a time to actually bring your brain to zero function, just not to think for a certain period of time.
Well, tell us how you can do that.
Well, there are a number of systems, and some people, they call it meditation, some call it an autogenic training. I just have learned through all those different systems which have been introduced to the mankind, just to switch off the brain for a little while during the day. And for me, that was during my career was so important that I still exercise that during the day I take maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and it's not easy to switch off,
No.
not to think, just not to allow that any idea comes to your brain for short, even if it's short time, and then you can start again. So there are a
But
number.
you can do that. Like in a day, you yourself take 10 minutes and just kind of go into a meditative state.
Yeah, I don't call it meditation. I just switch off my brain.
Mm-hmm. Do you shut your eyes?
I shut my eyes
Uh-huh.
completely.
I think it's hard to turn off your brain when you have visual input, right? So do you sit in a dark room?
Not really. Usually, in the hospital, I lie down on my exercise, on the examination bed.
Mm-hmm.
I switch on the button, please do not disturb. So the secretary knew that, professor
You're having
is
your restore time.
restore time. Sometimes I fell asleep and even dream.
Yeah, no, nothing wrong with that, right? I think naps are the best. Like a 10-minute nap can be so restorative.
It's extremely important. So, and it's a stadium, between being still awake and sleeping and but not thinking. That's the most important.
Not thinking.
And,
Okay.
And stress is something. The mental stress is something different. And I went through difficult phases in my life. Being political refugee and from former Czechoslovakia. So and you have to adapt. So the cognitive function is really very important, and there are a number of aspects how, and I am more than happy to share not my personal experience, but the body of science. And if you understand the science, then you are more motivated to make some changes.
Oh, I agree. I mean, there's nothing like data and studies to show you the truth of things rather than what someone feels. You mentioned earlier about microplastics, and I wanted to follow up on that. The Global Wellness Institute has a new initiative on microplastics, and I had the heads of that initiative on the podcast earlier this year, just a month ago, to talk about the findings, and it's sobering that there are plastics in our brains. Are you seeing that from the studies you're reading?
Yeah. And actually, I was, during my visit in Chicago, I visited yesterday a laboratory when they have the Rush University, they have a huge Alzheimer department, and they are dealing, with the brains. And they were showing me histological, and analysis when in the electron microscope you see microplastic, nanoplastics in the brain. We don't know what effect it will have, but it's scary to see that.
I
You
would
see
think so.
also an accumulation of heavy metals in the brain tissue. What effect it will have over the years, we do not know. The consequence for my family, my personal, we buy in Switzerland bottles with water only in glass. So no plastic bottles for drinking water, because this is what we take, every day, maybe 2 liters. So I rather pay a little bit more for a glass than to use the plastic. So we try to avoid that. I mean, there is more and more evidence that this is something, and we do not know what kind of effect it will have. But definitely, it's not a good.
Can't be good.
It can't be good for the brain tissue.
Well, Dr. Dvorak, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to your presentation on the stage at the Global Wellness Summit on the importance of performance for longevity. In closing, I'd like to ask you, is there something you could share with our listeners that we won't hear about on the stage in Dubai? Something about you.
I am very open, and I don't hide any information I get. And I am more than happy to share it in full. And I think this is the idea and also the aim of scientific work, to be creative, to be innovative, to search simple solution for complex problems such as life. And at the end, the message is the healthy lifestyle is simple, but you have to do it. If you do, you get the benefit. And the more you understand, the more motivated are you to do. And this is what I would like to share with the audience.
Thank you. Well, that's great advice. It's not a pill or a shot. It's, what we do every day that really has such good long-term effect. Thank you again for joining us, and I can't wait to hear the whole presentation in Dubai.
Thank you.